Hello and welcome to SDN Tech Forum. This is AWS Crash Course. And in last video, you saw me talking about EC2 instances. So where we learn about how to create, manage your cloud compute instance. In this video, we are going to talk about very important component which goes with EC2, and I think it requires a dedicated talk of its own called elastic block storage. This block storage get attached to your compute and work as a persistent storage, right? So let's understand what is AWS EBS volume and see what we have in our agenda. So first we are going to learn about what is AWS EBS volume, what are the benefits of using EBS volume, how to use AWS EBS volume, then we will touch base on pricing. Finally, uh, we will do a comparison of different EBS volume type available on AWS, and then we will look at some of the limitations. Finally, we will go to the demo and I'll show you how to create EBS volume, how to attach it to a EC2 instance, and then how you can start using it. So let's go ahead. What is AWS EBS volume? EBS volume is a cloud-based storage solution offered by AWS. It provides users with a persistent storage that can be used for a variety of applications, including database, virtual machines, and file system. So the key thing is this is a persistent storage. That means even if you restart, shut down, and power up your EC2 instance, the data will be stored, data will remain intact in that EBS volume, which is stored, which is attached to that VM. AWS EBS volume is a block storage solution that can be used to store data on virtual machines. It is designed to provide users with a reliable and scalable storage. So again, the key thing is it is a block storage. That means the data is written as a block rather than S3, which is a object storage, right? And it provides reliable and scalable storage. So uh, it is backed up automatically, and you can expand it very quickly. Benefit, we have already talked about a couple of benefits, but again, highly available, scalable, and durable. So very high data loss prevention. It is scalable and it is always highly available because the auto backups are going on across AZ. AWS EBS volume offer a number of features such as encryption, snapshotting, data replication that can help user protect their data and ensure it is availability. So there are additional features you can use like encryption. You can take snapshot, you can save snapshot, recover from snapshot. You can always replicate data across availability zone, and all these features may cost you a little bit, but they provide industry grade high availability. An EBS volume is seen by your EC2 instance as local hard drive. So this is again network attached storage, but your instance will think of it as a local hard drive. How to use EBS volume, and I'll show this in demo, but EBS volume can be used in a variety of ways. It can be used to store data in virtual machine or to create a file system for database. You can obviously run database, but there are better solutions available for database, and we will see in upcoming lectures what are database options we have from AWS. It can also be used as a persistent storage solution for application. In order to use AWS EBS volume, user must first create EC2 instance and then attach EBS volume to it. Once the volume is attached, user can begin storing, managing their data into the volume. EBS volume, again, it's seen as a local hard drive. Pricing varies, and I would say you must rely on AWS documentation or AWS information for pricing because this is quite dynamic. But it start uh, to baseline, it start at 10 cents per GB per month. Uh, Additional fees may be charged for additional features like encryption and snapshotting. The key thing to note is you will continue to pay for storage. If you are using EBS volume, you will continue to pay for this storage even if you are where the instance where you attached it, it is stopped. So don't think that if your instance is attached, obviously you're not getting instance is tabbed, obviously you are not getting built for the instance. But if you have a EBS volume attached, you'll still continue to pay for that. So keep that in mind. And this is all the different type of EBS volumes. Why different type of EBS volume? Because different uh, types suit different kind of use cases. Like some uh, your application may be memory intensive, your application may be compute intensive, and we will talk about that in our previous video, right? So for that you need different kind of EBS volume storage, and these are the different type of EBS volume. And a quick comparison among them. The slide comes from AWS education course itself. So this is not an original slide, but I thought this will be a good supplement, hence I put it here. You can see it start from uh, throughput optimize, which is on the right side. So this is the cheapest option, ST1, SC1, and these are HDD, hard disk drive. And then if you start moving to the left, you will see SSD, general purpose SSD, and optimize, provision IOPS, optimize SSD. So on the far left, it is highly specialized, optimized SSDs. Then we have general SSD, and below that we have HDD kind of option, right? The entire specification listed here. For latency, you get sub-millisecond latency um, in provision IOPS, while general purpose SSD give you single digit millisecond latency, right? And then the throughput volume, as you can see, and durability is 4959 for provision IOPS, and for SSDs, these are 99.9, right? Volume size, as you can see, the maximum what you can get in as an EBS, it is 64 TB, and that is the highest in the block, I2O block express. If you pick that EBS volume, then you can have 64 TB of volume size. Otherwise, you are pretty much restricted to 1 GB to 16 TB, right? So read through it. As you can see, with specialized EBS volume, you get better latency, you get better IOPS, throughput, and size. Also, durability increases. Limitation. Again, EBS has certain limitation. It's not perfect choice for your database. Try to rely on AWS offer database, relational database, non-relational database, and also, as you can see, maximum size is pretty much restricted to 16 TB. Though in one of the exception case, you can go 64 TB, but databases can grow really large, and 64 TB, even 64 TB can be a limitation. Also, one of the key thing to know, I don't think it is a limitation, but key thing to know is EBS volume must be created in the same availability zone as the EC2 instance you are going to attach the volume to. So your EBS volume and your EC2 instance, they must be in the same availability zone. I think this is because of the latency. So be mindful of that. Conclusion: EBS is very powerful, reliable cloud-based storage solution. It offers a number of features, encryption, snapshotting, everything is managed. So that's great, and you can get started at very reasonable pricing, which is 10 cents per GB per month. All right, this is all about EBS. Now let's go and look at the demo, right? So where you can find EBS, that's the question. Uh, this is my EC2 dashboard. Within EC2 dashboard, on the left side, if you start looking at the left side, you have AMIs, and then you have Elastic Block Store, EBS, Elastic Block Storage or Elastic Block Store. Within that, you have three key things: volumes. So EBS, we call it volume. Then you can take snapshot. Right now, I don't have snapshot, but I can create a snapshot, and we will do that. And then we have lifecycle manager, which is policy type, snapshot policy, EBS backed AMI policy, and a couple of other policies. So basically, it helps you manage creation, retention, copy, and deletion of snapshot in AMI. It's a lifecycle manager for all your volume creation, retention, and deletion. All right. Let's go first to the volume. As you can see, it's showing me all my EBSs, and they all are in use and attached to the instance, though some of the instances are not running. Okay, free tier give you 30 GB of uh, GP2, so you're not being charged for that. Over and above how many you will create, you will get paid. All right, you'll be charged basically. Now if you want to create, I can always go and delete a EBS volume from here, or create a snapshot, create snapshot policy, and detach volume, force detach volume, all those things. But let's first try to create. You can pick up a volume type. So if you remember the slide, uh, it has all general to highly specialized volume type. You can pick one from here. So we will still go with GP2. Size, let's say just 1 GB, because minimum is 1 GB and maximum is 16 TB. IOPS is default, throughput not applicable, and you can choose the availability zone. So be mindful where you have your EC2, you want to create the volume in the same region, right? Snapshot ID, you can create a snapshot immediately, or you can create a snapshot later. I'll leave it default. Don't create volume from a snapshot. Encryption, you can enable encryption, and let's see what kind of encryption it is available. If you can, account is enabled for encryption default. You cannot create unencrypted volume, and the key will be managed by AWS KMS to encrypt the volume. So let's not encrypt, but be mindful that you have option while creating, and then just say create volume. This is my new 1 GB volume which is getting created, and it is not attached to any instance yet. While we are waiting here, let me open another EC2 dashboard, go to the instance, attach to the instance. Let's try to connect to that instance and see. Okay, so you can see I have two disk XVDA, or yeah, yep. So you can see my home directory is dev XVDA, and that's the 8 GB volume, EBS volume, which is attached to this machine. Let's go back, and by this time I think the volume creation should be successful. Let's click on this. Size is 1 GB. It's still creating. Let me refresh. Now it says available. All right, it's non encrypted and status is all good. Monitoring, these are the by default feature you get, some metrics monitoring when you create your EBS volume, right? But now the next thing what we want to do, we want to attach, right? So we want to attach this to our instance, and I have SDN demo running, and the device name it has taken automatically, dev-stv. Okay, newer Linux kernel may rename your device to dev xvdf. Okay, so device vendor here as shown in the detail is dev even when. So even if we have named it SDF, Linux kernel itself while during attaching, it will change it to xdv. As you can see, we have one xdv by default. All right, I think we are ready to go ahead and attach the volume. Successfully attached. Okay, says volume is in use, and now you can see it is attached to my VM. All right, let's go back and check. Right, we should see 1 GB volume showing up pretty soon. This is 8G. Here you can see we have XVDF attached today, and this 1 GB is not available to use right off the bat as you create, because you have to actually go ahead and format this so that it becomes usable. And that is a Linux system administration. I may have a separate video for that where you have to do fdisk and a couple of other commands before the disk shows up as a usable space, right? But you got the idea how to create a volume, how to attach the volume, and at the same time you can also go ahead and detach the volume if you want, right? In action, we can come here and we can force detach volume. You can also create snapshot directly from here, or you can go to EBS menu and then say create snapshot. Once you say create snapshot, you have two types. You can create a snapshot from a specific volume, or you can create a snapshot of the instance. So no matter how many EBS are attached to that instance, all will be snapshotted. So we will create 1 GB snapshot, and you can say put a description, not encrypted, and let's go and create snapshot. Based on your EBS volume size, it may take some time. We are just snapshotting 1 GB, so it should be fairly quick. As you can see, it is completed and it is available 100%. Everything looks same. There is no encryption, hence no keys, etc. What you can do with snapshot? You can come to action. You can create an image from snapshot. You can create a volume from snapshot. So if you uh, lost your EBS for any reason, you can always look up to snapshot and recreate a volume of the snapshot. You can modify permission, or you can simply archive. If you archive, it will actually send it to Glacier so that um, you won't be charged that much, right? It's just saving the cost. So for snapshot, you will be charged separately, um, just like EBS. So 1 GB of EBS, if it cost you X amount of money, the snapshot of 1 GB will cost you the same. Okay, let's go ahead and delete the snapshot because we don't want to keep the snapshot running. But before we delete, let's see what all the information we have here. Pretty much the same thing. Storage tier standard. If you apply lifecycle manager, then you can send the storage to Glacier or infrequent access, wherever you want to save some money. Okay, this is good. We are going to delete the snapshot. Let's go back to EBS volumes. So we have deleted the snapshot, but not the actual volume. What I'm going to do, I'm going to uh, mount this volume and post a screenshot in description or in comment section, so that if you're not familiar with the Linux command, you can use that screenshot and mount the volume and start using your EBS storage. All right. Uh, However, if you're creating your EBS storage for very first time, that AWS will mount it for you. It will be mounted automatically. You don't have to actually go ahead and try to format it or mount it. So thank you very much